Hello, everyone, and welcome to Focus Friday. I am your host, Dan Mickle, and this is the vlog that is helping start conversations in coaching and educational spaces. This week's topic, we are going to talk about correction and critique. There seems to be this, aura feeling lately coming through that a lot of players or students or people that we are working with tend to take everything that we try to correct as a critique. For example, trying to adjust a technical aspect of someone's mechanics in a sport, free throw shooting in basketball, and trying to explain to them what we need or want from them a little bit more. And what they are receiving is that we are critiquing them, saying they're not a good player or they're not good at this skill. So we have to really think about, are we creating that culture where we are explaining how we coach and how we instruct? Because I think part of the problem is, as we've seen, especially in youth sports, kids bouncing around team to team, program to program. I'm not happy here, so I'm just going to go somewhere else. That they're not really getting in a groove as a learner. They're just not getting the framework needed to become a lifelong learner. And we as coaches, I think, are just assuming that somewhere along the way they have learned how to be. So we just skip over that part. And I think that is where this issue is actually stemming from, that we just assume that these players have learned how to accept correction and how to accept coaching and instruction and use it. And the problem is, because they've bounced around and maybe a previous program, we're going to focus on this because this is urgent this year, and then next year we were going to hit on that, or whatever the case may be, and they just never got it. And they just automatically assume that they're being critiqued, that we are personally judging them on what they're doing and not trying to be corrective. So that's what we have to figure out. We have to figure out how we can flip this and let them understand, no, that's not what we're doing. We are trying to help you become a better player, better student, a better musician. We are not attacking you personally. Obviously it's something you are doing, so there is a personal aspect of it, but it is not about you personally. It's about trying to get the best out of you. And I really think the way we start this is by having that discussion and not just saying, in passing, hey, don't take it personally. Literally having a session of sitting down and saying, okay, this is my coaching style, this is my coaching philosophy, and you guys know how big I am on coaching philosophy. But taking the time to say, this is how I work on, this is how I'm going to instruct you. And one of the things that I've changed over the years was how we do instructions during competition. So when we have a timeout, I make sure that the people I want to talk to, let's say it's my starting group or my core group, I make sure that they are sitting down. And it's not so much because I want them to rest, although that is obviously a benefit. It's more about, they know that once we sit down, we are about to receive instruction. So we call the timeout, we have them sit down on the bench. So as coaches, we huddle just to make sure we're kind of on the same page of what we want to talk about if we haven't discussed it already. And then we go to the team, say, okay, this is what we need. Well, it's almost like the sitting on the bench is that trigger. And it almost flips that switch. Whereas before we would, as they're coming off the court, hey, you need to do this and we got to do this. And we're just barking all these commands. So not only are they not ready to receive it, because obviously if we call the timeout, typically, there's some issues or problems that we need to fix. So they're already frustrated or stressed out about that moment. And then we're barking commands at them as they're coming off the court or coming off the pitch. So we need to give them that time. Let them push that stress out, clear their mind, sit down, and then get ready to receive our instruction. And I feel like that has helped. Now, it's certainly not going to fix everything, but especially in the college ranks, you're getting players that have had years and years of coaching. It could have been good, it could have been bad, it could have been somewhere in between. You don't know. I think the problem is we just assume, like, hey, if they're going to play in college, then they must have learned this along. And that's the problem. That's what we need to start out right away and say, okay, these are my expectations. This is how I am going. This is how, I want you to receive it. If I have a problem with attitude or there's a personal thing, we will discuss it. But it'll probably be in a different setting. It might be one-on-one. It might be off to the side. And then they can start to understand. But I think we need to differentiate between giving instruction and criticism. Again, there are times that there are criticisms, right? When a player isn't performing or their attitude's bad, that is a criticism then. But when we're working on correction of like a technique or skill, we have to make sure that they understand how and why. And I think it really starts with how we begin that conversation. We need to explain that. Just don't assume that your players are going to understand. Because I would venture to guess if you don't have that talk, most players do not understand that. They are going to right away think that you're attacking them, or you're not happy with them, or you're upset with them. So that is our Focus Friday. How do you in your gym set up that communication so that they understand that we're talking about a correction and not a criticism? What tactics have worked for you? Put it in the comments, share this video. Let's get this dialogue going and see what's worked and help each other out. Like I said, for me, the big takeaway has been changing how we do timeouts and making the team sit, whether they want to or not. As soon as your butts hit that seat, then you know, okay, now we're going to get instruction. I'm ready to go. And I think that has worked well for us. We still have some ways to go. That's a good starting point. But I would love to hear what your thoughts are and how you're working on that in your program, and some great ideas on how you work the difference between correction and criticism and how it's perceived. So again, subscribe to this channel, like, share, but most importantly, please comment and help open up this discussion. And let's help our fellow coaches and educators and instructors, and just to help everyone grow in how we can help build the next generation of musicians and athletes and actors and workers and everything. And would love to have those conversations. All right, see you all next week for the next Focus Friday. Peace, love, don't suck. Don't forget to hit that subscribe, like, and share.